Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. It is Josh Loves Movies here, and today I'm going to be reviewing Spider-Man Brand New Day. This video will include spoilers. If you have not seen the film, go watch it, come back, tell me your thoughts in the comments. I really am interested to know your guys' thoughts on the film. Spider-Man No Way Home really left off with such a good ending of Peter Parker being completely alone. He's just Spider-Man. Peter Parker is just no more. His girlfriend doesn't remember him. His best friend doesn't remember him. He has no friends completely. His aunt is dead. He's all on his own, and that perfectly sets up Spider-Man Brand New Day. I really loved the story, and it's exactly what I wanted from MCU Spider-Man, just a grounded, street-level story with a lot of emotional moments, tension, and this movie really delivers on that element. Now, I want to start with the characters, because I think the characters really were the best part of this film, and this has the best characters ever put to a Spider-Man movie. Now, one of the things I have to talk about is Frank Castle himself, the Punisher. He easily is the best part of the film. He steals the show. His dynamic here is better than with Daredevil. The way they have him be in an MCU film, as well as keeping him true to the character, and they didn't butcher him at all, was so smart and so well done. You see a new side of Frank that I just loved so much. And the little moment at the end of the film where he puts the mask on and does the little, weird motions, it's just so funny, and it just feels so true to the character. It's what I love about MCU films, is when you kind of get these fun little crossovers, and it just makes your day, it just makes you smile, and it really was just perfect. What they do with Ned and MJ is so great. They don't rush into anything. It's also so realistic that Ned would be looking into Spider-Man. I'm glad they didn't ignore the fact that Ned would remember being around Spider-Man so much. The Mutation storyline was pretty well done in my opinion. I did like how it was like a reverse of the second Tobey Maguire film, which of course in that film, he loses his powers because of the stress he's going through in his personal life, and he just decides to be Peter Parker. In this film, it's the opposite, and he is just Spider-Man, and Peter Parker is no more, and I thought that was so well done. I really liked the Mutation storyline with Peter gaining his real organic webs, because he isn't being Peter Parker anymore. He's being Spider-Man so much, it's taking over his life, and he's losing his human side. And I thought that was such a great storyline to have in this film, because Peter Parker is such a real and relatable character. He's so human. But what happens if you strip everything away from him that makes him the person he was before? And it's so smart and so clever, and I really just loved how the movie focused on this so much. But what I really want to talk about is Jean Grey. We all knew Sadie was going to be Jean Grey, it was so obvious, but a lot of people are thinking, why, when you introduce the X-Men to the MCU, when you introduce one X-Men to the MCU, why do it in a Spider-Man movie? And personally, I loved this idea of having her in the film. It makes so much sense to introduce her in a Spider-Man film. You introduce Spider-Man in a Captain America film, and I think at the time, Captain America probably was the biggest character in the MCU. Personally, in my opinion, and obviously Spider-Man very much is the biggest character in the MCU right now, so introducing one of the best X-Men into the MCU was so smart to do it in a Spider-Man movie, and having such a great actress to portray Jean was so smart. The damage control stuff was great and done so well, because they do an evil thing, of course, but in their minds it's for a good reason. It's actually not, of course, so there really is no main villain. Some may say it is damage control, and if you have to say there is a villain, I would say it's them. But obviously it wasn't for a good reason, and that's why Peter decides to help her in the end. But Jean isn't doing this to hurt anyone. She's just alone and wanted her sister. She's grieving. This film is about being alone, and the fact you don't have to be alone. Jean represents to Peter that just because you've lost someone close to you, it doesn't mean you have to be alone. Frank says in the film that he didn't want this life. If he could be with his family, he could be. He wouldn't want to be this vigilante that he is, and if he could choose to be with family, he would be. And Peter has the choice not to be alone. Frank represents the life that Peter could have if he carries on like this, and Bruce shows the fact that Peter isn't the only one trying to fight the monster inside. The film is about self-discovery on yourself and how to carry on from grief and life in general. It's more than a superhero film, it's a message to all of us. The way they end Peter and MJ in this film was great. Obviously it's not the end for them, we will see them again one day. But when she says she doesn't love Peter, it's such a tragic scene, but yet realistic. Everyone thought she would fall and date him again straight away. Everybody thought that on Twitter. Everyone what I saw said that, but that's not realistic. She doesn't know Peter. He's just a stranger. She has a boyfriend, and of course, the relationship isn't great from what we hear from MJ, but she wouldn't just get straight with him. But this film truly is romantic, not just with Peter and MJ, but with the New York and how it looks. They give New York a real personality and a character, more than the Home trilogy ever did. And the final battle is incredible, but it doesn't feel like a final battle. It feels like it should just be the second act, and we haven't had the third act yet. but this is the third act. It doesn't have that big, epic final battle feeling that No Way Home did, but it does include the best MCU Spider-Man scene when Peter accepts he's both Spider-Man and Peter Parker. He accepts the Spider and Man. I do find it crazy how they did show so much of the final battle in the trailers. I thought that was pretty weird, but the whole fight is really incredible. I really did like the scene with Aunt May and Peter, the flashback from Homecoming, but in obviously Peter's head, and Jean was there, and Aunt May spoke to Jean, and it was a kind of like a copy of the Thunderbolts ending, which was my main complaint with this whole final battle, apart from it feeling a bit anticlimactic, is it did feel so much like the ending of Thunderbolts, and it felt like a bit like a copy, and it kind of was the same thing. Maybe this one hit me more because it was a bit more personal. I kind of think I related more to it than the Thunderbolts one, because I think Jean was a more relatable character than Sentry was in that film. The scene really worked, and then having Frank shoot Peter and getting all emotional, and Peter walking out, seeing all the Spider-Man fans, and Frank obviously putting on the mask, and it was such a beautiful moment. It's such a bittersweet ending to a Spider-Man film. And I really liked how it obviously ended with Jean leaving, and obviously we know she'll return in Avengers Secret Wars, I'm pretty sure, and obviously we're going to get the MCU X-Men in 2028, which will be great. It overall just was such a strong film. It was just so much fun, obviously, seeing Yelena from Thunderbolts was in the film quite a few, and her cameo was super fun in the hot tub. I thought that was hilarious. I thought that was so funny. I really like these little touches that Spider-Man really is a big part of the MCU. He knows all these heroes, and so much of this film really felt to me they were setting up so much cool team-ups in the future with Spider-Man and the X-Men, and Spider-Man and Yelena, and more stuff with Hulk possibly in the future. The future of Spider-Man has never been so bright before, and I seriously can't wait. I really love the ending was Peter accepting he is Peter Parker and he can't do this alone, and goes up to Ned and they do the handshake and Ned remembers. It's beautiful. It sets up Spider-Man to be in such a great new place. Of course I am worried about MJ, and while she's on the rooftop holding the Black Dahlia necklace, does she remember? I hope not. Did Jean do some sort of thing to make them remember? I really hope not. I mean, it would make sense for her to do that for Peter because she cares for him now, and I think them two will have a strong friendship in the future of the MCU, and I think it will develop into a friendship with the X-Men in the future, and I'm very, very excited for the X-Men to come into the MCU. There's a few things that could go wrong from here, but if they do it right and they play their cards right, Spider-Man 5 and hopefully Spider-Man 6 could be some amazing movies. Finally, I have to talk about that post-credit scene. It's a big conversation right now. I thought the post-credit scene was a bit weak, but what it sets up is super cool. Obviously, the post-credit scene was the Spider Tracker app that Ned has in the film. I haven't mentioned that in the review, but I really liked the app. I thought it was quite cool. I think it was quite a cool concept. Obviously, the post-credit scene was trying to pinpoint where Spider-Man is, but it starts to zoom out so far it's clear that Spider-Man isn't even in New York anymore, or even on Earth, and the app locates to the hero out of space, and then it cuts to text that says Spider-Man will return. Obviously Tom Holland hasn't been announced to be a part of Avengers Doomsday. It would kind of make sense for him to be there because obviously this film has it established that he has a friendship with Yelena, who obviously is the leader of the Thunderbolts / New Avengers. So it would make sense for Tom Holland to be in Doomsday, but I don't think he is. I truly think this will be for Secret Wars when Battle World is created and he's on a new Earth, or he's in space because something has been destroyed and he has to be taken away with the other heroes. Maybe he's with the Fantastic Four. We have no idea, but the future for Spider-Man has never been so bright, and I genuinely can't wait. So I give Spider-Man Brand New Day a 10 out of 10. It's not a perfect movie, but it's a perfect Spider-Man movie, and it's everything I always wanted from a Spider-Man film. So if you did enjoy this review and you have your own thoughts, please comment down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.